come out, we put away public relation issues, and we stand up for the voice of Judaism. So we speak in the name of Judaism, we speak in the name of the best interest for all Jewish people, and we speak in the name of, I would say, the majority of Orthodox Jews. So, although we may be sidelined, we may be, labelled as fundamentalists, fringe minority, and etc., don't speak enough for anyone, all this rubbish, but technically speaking, anyone can realise that we wouldn't be able to exist in a community if we wouldn't have the support of the community. We have support for example, I have many relatives here in the community, close relatives, and they all support me, all pat me on my back and say, I can't do what you're doing, but carry on your good work. That's what they tell me. So this is just an example how our movement, which is Natura Carta, speaking on behalf of the Jewish Orthodox community, the majority, I would say. We adopted the name Natura Carta, which was adopted from Palestine, really. The Natura Carta means in Aramaic the guardians of the city, which was a movement founded about roughly 80 or 100 years ago in Jerusalem to fight for religious rights, because then the Zionist pioneers are already coming there to influence and to uproot Judaism, and we're already fighting for religious rights over there. So we adopted this name Natura Carta internationally for our movement to stand up for justice, for humanity, for Judaism, for Palestinians, all one cause, all one sentence, one meaning. It's all the same, all the same, and it's for God in the last words. So this is where we stand. Going back into history a bit, the founders of Zionism, obviously, those who know history, were atheists, were anti-religious people, Jews. They wanted to tear away their religion. And they made a big propaganda in Europe, when Jews were suffering persecution in Europe. They said, we Jews, our future, we are a people without a land, and Palestine is a land without people. That's what they said, which is both completely flawed. Nothing can be absolutely, not one word that answers truth in that. Let's go one by one. First of all, they said, we Jews, we are people without a land. Well, obviously, they who said that, they did not keep religion. Religion was secondary to them, it was completely secular. So they had nothing to be called Jewish in any way. So they said, oh, they need a land, we need a nationality, we need an army, we need politics to be identified as Jews. So this is the first part of the propaganda, and this was obviously rejected by the Orthodox community completely. Whereas the second half, which was something like far away, easy to say some story about far away, say Palestine's a land without people. So obviously they ignored the indigenous population there, and this is how they managed in a way, to a certain degree, to fool till today as well. They can fool so many people as believing Judaism is Zionist and Zionism is Judaism, and having a land, having an army, having a territory, this is part of Judaism. You are identifying yourself as Jewish because you are Israel. We have lasted as Jews for 2,000 years in the diaspora all over the world, without having any political land, political position anywhere, right? We lived happily in so many lands, in the Middle East especially. So this was untrue, and so was the second story untrue of Palestine being a land without people. So this is unfortunate. Unfortunate what happened in 1947-48, how they terrorized. They were the first. It's important to note, the Zionists were the first official terrorist. They bombed, they killed, in order to achieve their goal. What was their goal? They wanted the Palestinian to flee Palestine, get out of Palestine, in order they can take over Palestine. So this was their agenda, but that was what they wanted. They were the first successful terrorists, and I would say they're the mother of terrorism. I would say Zionism. They massacred a whole village, a whole neighborhood called Deyasin. And why did they do this for? Because they wanted to use the Deyasin as a lesson, as a weapon to spread fear and panic when the British mandate will leave Palestine, and then they will went down to villages and telling them, if you don't leave, they will end up being like Deyasin. This is real terrorism. If this is not terrorism, what is terrorism? This is, I would say, the most successful foundation of terrorism. Long before September 11th. So I would say this is a foundation of Zionism, founded with falsehood against Judaism. And let's speak a bit about history, what Zionists have done. What Zionists have done to the Palestinians, I've just mentioned, it's quite obvious. Till this very day, how the Palestinians are suffering, till this very day, they've managed to manage to spread the idea that they're being the persecuted and the Palestinians are being the oppressors, and that's why they're just defending themselves. So till this very day, since the story of Deyasin, when there was a peaceful Jewish, Arab, Palestinian Muslim community in Palestine, and it was peaceful. They came along and started making unrest. And then this is the famous story of Deyasin, which they managed to, in 1948, they destroyed, razed to the ground, about roughly 500 towns and villages in Palestine. So this is something, until this very day, has not been accounted for. There's occupation, there's persecution. All of the rest is settler violence and the phosphorus bombs they threw in the Gaza prison, I would call it. This is something everyone knows, everyone sees, and unfortunately people are biased. They just want to see one thing. They want to see as poor little Israel as being being persecuted, they're being terrorized by the people who want to destroy Israel, and when they have the F-16s and all the tanks and weaponry, and they are so scared to give in something small, a bit of dignity and respect to the Palestinians, because they're so scared that Israel wouldn't exist, that Israel has no right to exist, and etc., etc. So all this, people who are not blind, see it straightforward, how false, how unlawful, and what tragedy they're doing to the Palestinians. And now let's go back to the Jewish community, what the Zionists have done. Before the war, there was beginning of the war. There was big efforts. The Nazis wanted to make Europe Judenrein. They wanted to get rid of the Jews from Europe. They wanted only their fascist race. And they wanted to make arrangements for Jews with the Nazis to get Jews to go overseas, to go away. And the Zionists had their political agenda. They wanted Jews only to go to Palestine. Only to go to Palestine, nowhere else. And the Nazis were very scared of that, because they had their agreement with some Arabic leaders in the Middle East. Arabic leaders didn't want an invasion of Palestine by the Jews, so they didn't want the Zionists did not want the Jews to go anywhere in the Middle East. But the Zionists blocked. So there was efforts underway to bring Jews to Latin America. There was Mexico, Latin America. And there was also an effort to bring Jews in the United States, and there were Zionists in the United States who blocked those efforts. They blocked those efforts. The President of the United States wanted to bring in a big sum of refugees, And they said, no, they have to go to Palestine, nowhere. And the Zionists block efforts to save Jews in the Holocaust. That's number one. Number two, there was also the money that we could have. There was a plan of redeeming Jews for money, to save Jews for money, and they didn't let that happen. I'm thinking very short, without showing documented. All this could be documented, could be proven. Let's go to the next stage. After the war, the Jews left in Europe wanted to go away from Europe. They just felt so broken hearted. They felt distressed. They felt it was this terrible. We went through in the concentration camps was terrible stories. Jews wanted to go away from Europe, which was full of blood on its ground. And they came along the Zionists, and they made big pressure, and big terror, and big. I wouldn't say the word terror. I'm not sure. Well, yes, terror, but I don't know exactly which means the terror they used. But they came with big intimidation and big pressure and all plans to persuade Jews only Palestine, nowhere else. Not to go to Canada, not to go to the United States. There was Jews who went to Canada, the United States, but they were discouraged very much. The Zionists put all the effort for Jews to go only to Palestine. At the time, it was on the British mandate. They weren't allowed to go. And they made them smuggle ships and went against the British, and they made the British into the biggest enemy, as if the British are such horrible people. And this is what they've done till from the end of the war, from 1945 till 1948, something like this. 1948, we all know what they've done. The Jews came from Europe, and they just said, "You are fighting for your survival." Like the same propaganda they say today, that you're fighting for your survival, is the same propaganda they're saying today to the Jews in Tel Aviv, for the Jews in New York, that the people and the Jews in Palestine are fighting for their survival. That's why they have to bomb with F-16s, phosphorus bombs and cluster bombs, because you're fighting for survival. So this was what they've done to the European refugees. Were very hard. These people have been persecuted. They went through hell in the concentration camps. They gave them guns. You're fighting for survival. Kill these Palestinians there, and they just managed to brainwash and buy the hearts of so many Jews into their cursed ideology. Now, carry on. So now there was an empty state. There wasn't much people there. Now they have to fill up the states. I have to point out one of the main goals of the Zionists was to uproot Jews from their religion, because they are anti-religious, anti-Semitic in my language. So that was one of the goals. They could have just go live somewhere else and assimilate into the. You want to don't be Jewish, don't be Jewish. But no, that wasn't. They weren't happy with that. They wanted to get the Jews together and make them into secular people. So that was after 1948. They wanted to fill up the state. So they sent their Mossad, their agents, to the Arab lands, to Baghdad, to all over, to in Syria, to Libya, Egypt, everywhere, and they tried their best, whatever they could, to get Jews to immigrate. One of the sad chapters is the Yemenite community. They went to the Yemenite community, who was living happily with it in their quarter. Maybe they didn't have all the rights of the other people, of the population. It didn't matter. They were happy. They were secure there. There was no problem. They came there and they gave plenty of money to the king there. Bought him off with a bit of money. They bought off the king with a bit of money, and they made arrangements. Come to the land of Israel. This is the land of all your forefathers. This is what you were supposed to one day return to. But we all know anyone who's a bit religious knows that returning to the land of Israel does not mean with tanks, F-16s, subjugating, imprisoning people, demolishing houses, burning olive growth, spreading, killing people. This has nothing to do with the prophets of the Jews coming back to the land of Israel to serve God with all mankind. In the prophets that it's written, we're going to go back, and everyone's going to come to serve God together in the holy city of Jerusalem. It's nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with rulership, subjugating people, killing. It's nothing. It was nothing. That's nothing to do with Judaism. There's never in the Jewish prayer book. We read. We are exiled from our land because of our sins, and we ask God the Almighty to bring us back. Well, how do we bring us back? With killing Palestinian children? No, that doesn't mean that. With coming with terror and uprooting religion and killing people, killing innocent people the whole time. This is not what we prayed for all these years, and it's not what was never going to happen. This either. It's not a Jewish ambition to be conquerors, invaders, and occupiers. It's nothing to do with religion. Our connection to Jerusalem, the holy place of Jerusalem, the Holy Land, is a spiritual connection. It's not a material, political connection. So, coming back to what happened, they told the Yemenite community, come to the Holy Land, and they see this airplane. They never saw an airplane in their life. They said, come, this is the airplane from a godly thing. It flies up and brings you. It says a godly hand. They said, and they took the whole community, not the whole, nearly the whole, most of the majority of Yemenite Jews to Palestine. They uprooted their religion with force. And there's stories about it. You can go on and on about it. How they uprooted Jews with force. And they stole their babies for adoption. I was telling you before about it. It's a big scandal. There was someone called Uzi Meshulam, Yemenite origin, and he wanted to bring out to light, and he was assassinated by the Mossad about 10 years ago. He was assassinated because he wanted to bring out the truth, what the Zionists done to the Yemenite children. Because the Yemenite were very innocent, they disbelieved everything they were told. A mother came to hospital and said, I had a baby, yes, a baby, and the baby was gone. Where's the baby? The baby died. And they sold the baby for adoption to an American childless couple because they wanted a bit of money. So this is what they've done, not once, not twice, but many times. So they destroyed the Yemenite community because they wanted to fill up. They told the Yemenite community, give me your arm, take guns, that's it, shoot. They've done this to the Moroccan community, but later on, the Iraqi community were living prosperous, happy with their neighbors in Baghdad. What did they do? They sent them Mossad, and they bombed synagogues. And then they said, look, you're living in a country, look what's happening, you can't live here. The Arabs are going to kill you, come. And the Jews, they left, and they left. They left Baghdad. They were happy. They came to Baghdad, what were they given? Nothing, no houses, nothing. They were treated like dirt there. Like the Moroccans. The Moroccans were treated like second-class citizens in Israel. They wanted cheap labourers. in Israel. So what did they do? We're going to get the Moroccan people to come. And they were treated like with big racism. This is what they've done. This is all, you're talking about, was happening, and this is happening, continuing happening, even now. They're going to France. They're creating anti-Semitism. They are feeding on some anti-Semitism there, if there's any. And they're getting French immigration to come. They're trying to influence French people to come to Palestine. This is what they're doing till this day. And they're waiting for any anti-Jewish sentiment around the world. Whenever a Muslim leader or Arab leader says something, in one word against Jew, doesn't say Zionist, they jump on it, and they will make sup out of it. This is it. You see, it's anti-Semitic. And that's when it's differentiated between Zionism and Judaism, when the Arab says we have nothing against Zionism, Jews, only Zionists, then they have nothing to say. They're waiting for something, the slightest indication against Jew. This is what they want. This is what they strive for. This is what they feed on. And this is something they can't stand when coming back to our activists, and we come along and say, you don't have to be anti-Semitic to be anti-Israel. I'm also anti-Israel, I'm Jewish. And that's why, because I'm Jewish, I'm anti-Israel. Because I'm for humanity. Because I believe in God, and I believe in humanity. I believe in human beings having a right to live, having a right to religion, having a right to have their home, their family. That's why I'm against Israel. And this is what they can't stand, because I'm coming along and saying Judaism, Zionism, is like Judaism and communism. Communism is also founded by some Jews. Early communism was quite many Jews were very, very active for it. It doesn't make it anyway a Jewish organization, a Jewish entity. No way. Judaism is a religion of peace, a religion of respect, a religion of dignity, a religion of justice, a religion of brotherhood, and a religion, I believe, like other religions I hear from my friend, my brother Muhammad, as Islam is also a religion of peace. Unlike some people who always want to blame every terrorist attack, an Islamic terrorist, call him a terrorist. Why call him Islamic for? I mean, it's like, and this is why. This is the same idea. A religion is a something of which preaches peace, and not something which preaches the opposite of peace. And people who are anti-religion, try to always put them together. For example, right? That's why the BBC, the whole time, every bulletin which says speaks about of Israel, the Jewish state this, the Jewish state that, because they love making the state of Israel Jewish. They love it. They're anti-religion. They want to speak against it's anti-Semitic. So they say, the Jewish state, the Islamic state, the Islamic terrorists, and this and that. They love labeling all bad on religion. But it doesn't make Israel any Jewish. The word Israel is hijacked, was stolen. Israel means Yisrael, Jacob it means. And they stole the name for their state. It's not really Israel. We don't like calling it Israel. We call it the Holy Land. We call it the Zionist state. If you're calling it politically, if you mean the state of Israel, call it Palestine. We don't call it Israel. You don't like calling it Israel. And so, coming back to what we said before, Zionism is not Judaism. Although so many Jews unfortunately support Israel, blindly, foolishly, and being fooled by their own propaganda. Have you ever seen someone being fooled by his own propaganda? Well, very easy. Go to any supporter of Israel, and let's see how rubbish he's speaking in one sentence, right? You'd say, we're being persecuted, we do nothing wrong, and the Zionists want to kill us all, want to cross in the sea. And who made it? He's believing it by his own propaganda, and that's why he's innocent. But this is why unfortunately, so many Jewish people support Israel blindly. But it does not make it Jewish in any way. It's not Jewish in character. Because nowhere in any Jewish books you'll see here there's such thing of having a state, a democratic state, with elections, and parties. Religion is a religion of going to synagogue, studying, learning, doing kindness to one another. This is religion. It's nothing to do with politics, and certainly not the oppression that they're doing to human beings, what they're doing in Gaza, what they're doing now in Al-Quds, what they're doing, they are desecrating a holy site and not letting people worship, taking away the basic right to worship people where they have worshipped for centuries and centuries. This is disgusting. This is not in the Jewish name. So, summing it up all, Israel Zionism has nothing to do with Judaism, not in the very least. And if anyone in the world comes along and says it has to do, We can prove them, we can challenge them, we can prove it's false. Can it be the President of France, be the President of the United States? It doesn't matter who it is. Truth stays the truth. We know what Judaism is about. We know what's best for the Jews. And no one can tell us what's called anti-Semitic, what's not called anti-Semitic. Because the only place in the world where Jews are being killed is a so-called safe haven of Zionists. Where in the since the Second World War, where have Jews been killed? No, nowhere, nothing in Russia, nothing in China, nothing in Argentina, nothing in Iran, in the terrible Iran, and there's nothing in the terrible, terrible place Iran. No, not in Iran. Iran, there's 25,000 Jewish families living peacefully, respectfully, with dignity and security. Nowhere Jews being killed. The only place Jews being killed is their safe haven where they wanted to create to solve the Jewish problem. So who can tell me, who in the world can tell us Jews, that being anti-Zionist is being anti-Semitic? Well, what way is it a favour to the Jews, this whole Zionist enterprise? So coming up to everything, we want the world, we are demonstrating what our activity is, besides campaigning for human rights of Palestinians, and campaigning to the Jewish rights. What's happening now, where the Jews are being persecuted terribly in Palestine. They want to uproot our religion, want to force them into the army. Terrible. Jews are going to hell now. Jews, not only Palestinians. We are telling the Jews, please, we're telling the international community, please realize the root of the problem and do your best to dismantle this misfortune, this curse on the mankind, this curse on Jewish people, this misfortune of Zionism. Take it away from us by all means, and then we can live in peace and happy, and until one day the Lord, the Almighty, the Merciful God will bring redemption and peace to all mankind, to all of us, especially nowadays. Thank you.
I'm speechless. Is it Tadoch Rabbi? Which means thank you very much, Rabbi. You've touched my heart. You've opened up my mind, and I think, if anything, I take away from this illuminating speech that you've just given is that the truth is there is no fiction or no way that we as the Muslims and as the Jews should be fighting each other. We have the same common principles, the same belief in the one God, and we want righteousness and peace. We say shalom, we say shalom, salam, means it's about peace. I think that's what we got from what you've said, and I want anyone listening to take that away, that do not mistake the belief in the Jewish faith with the pernicious evil of Zionism. They're completely worlds apart. And what the Rabbi was showing is historically Muslims and Jews have got together, worked together, and have done their best to bring about a peaceful, just world. So thank you once again so much for your time and for your contribution, and I hope that people listen with their hearts and take in what you've said. Please, anybody listening, subscribe to Islamic Action. Make sure that you that you look on the internet, look up for more stuff, and we're going to be with the Rabbi again with another explosive, information-packed video that we believe will enlighten you and edify you. Thank you. Shalom Alek.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.